How's it going, everybody? It's Warren. Welcome back to Superhero Central, where we talk about your favorite superheroes. And with the release of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I figured we could give you the complete origin story on Bucky Barnes, aka the Winter Soldier. And I'll do Sam Wilson, aka the Falcon, coming up here soon, so be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the latest videos. James Buchanan Barnes, aka Bucky, first appeared in Captain America Comics #1 in March 1941 as a sidekick to Captain America. The character was created by Joe Simon and Jack Kirby. Fun fact, Joe Simon named Bucky after his friend Bucky Pearson, who was a star on his high school basketball team. Anyways, Bucky was born in 1925, but sadly by the time he was only 10 years old, he had already lost his mother and his father. His mother, Winifred Barnes, died when he was only a child, and his father, George Barnes, died in an accident while Barnes was in basic training at Camp Lehigh. Now, he was supposed to be sent to boarding school after being orphaned, but he convinced officials into letting him remain at Camp Lehigh as a ward of the state because he wanted to share his father's love of the armed forces. Unfortunately, his younger sister was sent to boarding school, and this led to them being separated from each other. During World War II, he eventually traveled to England and received hand-to-hand combat training with British military combat instructors. Now, after this training, he met and befriended Steve Rogers, who had just become the US government operative we all know, Captain America. So as you can see, the movies definitely changed things up a bit. In Captain America: The First Avenger movie, Bucky and Rogers were friends before Rogers became Captain America. Cool little twist they did for the movies. So going back to Bucky's origin, Bucky was assigned to accompany Steve Rogers. Now at first, Bucky was initially unaware of Captain America's true purpose, until one night Bucky visited Steve's tent just as he was changing into his masked identity. Bucky, sworn to secrecy, joined Captain America on his first mission against Red Skull. On this mission, they were able to free many Nazi prisoners. For many months afterwards, Barnes went through an intensive training program under the instruction of Captain America. Then, when America entered World War II after the bombing of Pearl Harbor in December 1941, Bucky and Captain America left their military identities and devoted themselves to serve as costumed freedom fighters. At one point during the war, they were allied with the Submariner, who was the original Human Torch, and his mutant partner, Toro, in a team that Winston Churchill named as the Invaders. However, Bucky did end up assembling his own team of costumed superhumans known as the Liberty Legion, which fought together until the war was over. He also worked with another group of teenagers called the Young Allies. Now, getting into the deep stuff, in 1945, around the end of the war, Bucky and Captain America were in London on the trail of a man named Baron Heinrich Zemo, a Nazi scientist. They came across Zemo in the process of stealing an experimental drone plane built by the Allies. In the battle with Zemo's powerful humanoid robot, both Bucky and Captain America became unconscious, and Zemo strapped them to the drone plane to be delivered to Hitler over in Berlin. Zemo, unable to stand the sight of their patriotic costumes, changed them into US Army uniforms. Now, Bucky and Captain America managed to escape before Zemo activated the plane, but they saw the drone plane begin to move just as they jumped off. Quickly, Bucky and Captain America grabbed a motorcycle and tried to catch up with it. Just before the plane flew out of reach, the two leaped and tried to grab onto it. Bucky leaped first and managed to get a grip on the plane's wing. But Captain America missed and shouted to Bucky to let go in case the plane was booby-trapped. Bucky was unable to let go because his uniform sleeve got caught onto the cockpit of the plane. The plane then exploded, and it appeared as if Bucky was killed from the blast. Now, Bucky's remains and his body were never recovered, so everyone accepted the fact that he was killed in action. But as we all know, Bucky never died, and he still remained alive. He was actually able to get himself untangled from the plane and jump off right before it exploded, but being so close, he definitely got some damage. The explosion ended up taking off his entire left arm. After the explosion, he went into the English Channel of ice-cold water. Later, a Russian submarine who was actually looking for Captain America's body ended up finding Bucky's preserved body instead. After being retrieved and examined for any traces of the super soldier serum, his body was placed in cryostasis. He was now being created into the Winter Soldier. The Winter Soldier was used to conduct many strategic assassinations across the world. One of his targets was Itsu, the pregnant wife of his wartime ally, Logan, who he killed in 1946. Later, in 1954, he was revived and had his arm replaced with a bionic arm, which was made after a Soviet spy had recovered schematics for cybernetic appendages. The arm was to be replaced by a newer and more advanced one every time there was an improvement in their technology. Now, Bucky had his memories erased, but he still had his highly physical skills. He was brainwashed to hate the West and was provided with mental implants during sensory deprivation, molding him into the perfect assassin. Now, this next part, if you're unfamiliar with the comics and only know the Bucky from the MCU, this may come as a surprise to you. The Winter Soldier met Natasha Romanoff, who was part of the Black Widow Ops program, and helped train her in combat while she was undergoing espionage training at the Red Room Academy. They eventually fell in love, and Bucky often snuck into her sleeping quarters at night to be with her. At this time, however, Natasha was promised to a guy named Alexei Shostakov, aka the Red Guardian, who were going to be seen in the upcoming Black Widow film. However, she loved Bucky much more, but unfortunately the relationship did not last. After an incident during an assassination operation, Barnes was deemed unstable and was once again put into cryostasis. He would be put into cryostasis whenever he wasn't needed for a mission. Poor little Bucky. In 1966, he was assigned to catch two Nazi scientists, Peter and Mila Hitzig, creators of the alchemy formula, but he remembered his own identity during a fight against Drain, a Hydra agent. With the help of S.H.I.E.L.D. agent Ran Shin, he tried to help Mila escape before Nick Fury accidentally killed her. Recovered by the Russians, the Winter Soldier received additional brainwashing in order to avoid any more occurrences of him remembering his old identity. However, after one mission in 1973, Barnes did not report back on time. He was traced to New York City, where coincidentally, his former teammate Namor was also. As both men had amnesia, neither one of them recognized each other. Barnes had demonstrated mental instability in some of his later missions as well, and was placed into stasis at one of Karpov's storage facilities, which had been inherited by his protege, General Alexander Lukin. Following the USSR's collapse, Lukin went rogue and established the Cronus Oil Corporation. In order to capture the Red Skull's new cosmic cube, General Lukin reactivated Barnes to assassinate Red Skull. Although neither of them realized the Red Skull had simultaneously transferred his consciousness into Lukin's body. Barnes detonated a firebomb in Philadelphia, which claimed many victims. Their deaths helped power the cosmic cube, but Lukin, who had been disturbed by the cube's effect, gave it to Barnes to store in a nuclear-safe vault in West Virginia. During the investigation by Nick Fury and S.H.I.E.L.D., Captain America discovered the true identity of Lukin's assassin, the Winter Soldier, and confronted Bucky at the vault. Reunited at last, they fought each other until Rogers gained possession of the cube and used its power to restore Bucky's memories. But, overcome with remorse, Bucky destroyed the cosmic cube to teleport away and went underground to search for Lukin and the Red Skull, but was still unaware that they were now one and the same. After a confrontation in Serbia with the X-Men Wolverine, Bucky managed to track Lukin to England. The Skull had unleashed a sleeper robot. Barnes abandoned his initial intentions to seek and eliminate Lukin to help Rogers in destroying the robot. This was the first time in over half a century that they worked together again, but after this, Bucky fled because he was unable to face his friend and mentor, Steve, feeling guilty of all that he had done. Then it's revealed that Captain America was an undercover operative working for Nick Fury. On one of Barnes' assignments, he encountered the Young Avengers, Patriot, Hawkeye, and Vision, and learned how his and Cap's adventures had inspired contemporary heroes. He also reconciled with his former Invaders teammate, Namor, and assisted Wolverine with incapacitating his son, Daken. So there you have it, the complete origin story behind Bucky Barnes, aka the Winter Soldier. Now, if you didn't really have much knowledge of his comics background story, I'm sure you're pretty shocked because, as you can see, the MCU definitely shook things up a little bit with his story. But I kind of prefer the fact that in the MCU, Steve and Bucky grew up together. But which story do you prefer? Let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of our future videos, and give the video a like if you enjoyed it. As always, this is Warren, and thanks so much for joining us here at Superhero Central.